side of our boat, the left side. Right now they're on the starboard, but I'm slowly making the turn. And while I make the turn, you know what to do. Hold on.
Okay, so there are 2 whales in this group, and one of them just took a dive. Hopefully you recognize that behavior with the tail flukes coming out of the water. The second one has not dove yet, so be on the lookout. Have your cameras ready. If you see that arching of the body, that indicates it's going for a dive.
Just like you don't even know where it is.
We're gonna talk now. Here comes the dive. All right, so we got the tail coming out of the water again. Beautiful fluke up dive from both of these individuals. But as we noticed from the first time, we didn't have to wait long for them to surface again. And I think I can actually see a little bit of a shadow still under the surface of the water. So they didn't dive very deep, and they didn't dive very far. Keep an eye at 10 o'clock. Coming closer now. If you have polarized sunglasses, it can really help you spot these shadows on the water.
It's right there. See it? Anything right there?
I see it. Right there, Johnny, right there. It's going right into us.
That's closer than 100 yards.
I would have seen it, but I was looking over there. I was like, what are you looking at?
What a great up close look at the underside of those tail flukes. Just to give you a sense of scale, those tails are about 15 feet wide. Now you might have noticed there were some interesting patterns on the underside of that tail fluke. Some splotches of white, an outline of black. There was even kind of a squiggly line running through that white patch. All of those details are clues as to which whale this is, so this whale's identity. Now you might be looking at this smooth surface of the water at 9 o'clock. That's where the whale took its dive. It's not necessarily where the whale is any longer. It doesn't look like we can see the whale at the surface at this time. So we'll keep an eye out for any future surfacings, but it'll likely be in a different location.
You're not wearing your polarized sunglasses.
I am.
Oh, you are?
Now the reason why I mentioned the whale tail fluke patterns is because that's one of the ways that researchers can learn about these animals. So when we get a good look at the patterns under the tail flukes, and especially if we can get a photograph of that, we can add it to our catalog. And those markings, those details, are the identifying markings of that individual. Every whale's tail is unique. It's kind of like our fingerprint. It has a unique pattern that we can use to identify it. And we have thousands of these whale tail photos in our catalog at the Pacific Whale Foundation Research Department. We've been photographing these whales since 1980, so just imagine how many of these whale tail photos we have. As we collect them, we can start to compare them to photos that were taken previously and determine if we've seen that whale before. Now this is a pretty tedious process. It's not an easy thing to do. The details are small, But little by little, we can start to match photos from the past with photos from this season and learn a little bit about what has happened over the lifetime of an individual whale. So if we see a whale with a calf and we record its location, and then we see that whale again a couple years later with another calf, we can start to learn a little bit about the reproductive rates of humpback whales, for example. So this is a really important tool to researchers. We'll also be using it while we're out here today just to try and keep track of which whale is which. When we see several different whales throughout the trip, we can start to get confused whether it's the same whale again or a new whale, which whale in the group it is. And so I want you to be on the lookout for those whale tail patterns so that you can start to learn the individuals. Now I can't promise you that I'll know which whale it is. As I mentioned, we have a lot of photos. I don't know them all by heart. We estimate that we have over 10,000 humpbacks traveling through the Hawaiian Islands every winter. So that's a lot of whales to get to know. But we'll at least keep track of the ones we're watching today.
Do you know what city that is? That's that kind of color. So I don't know, that must be Lahaina.